Know what to eat, but find yourself not eating it. Perhaps you've been on diets and off again and just wonder why you can't stick to them. The Eating For You podcast, hosted by me, Sally Ann Pisk, will show you what's been missing so you can enjoy a healthier way of eating that lasts. Hi, it's Sally Ann with you, and I'm really excited to have Felicia Terlecki with me today, and we're going to be celebrating World Menopause Awareness Day. Welcome, Felicia.
Thank you so much for that introduction. I really appreciate it.
That's right.
I'm excited for World, Appreciation Day of Menopause because it's such an important time for women.
Yes, it is. And we're going to bust through some of those myths today, which is really good. But I just want to cover off a couple of things before we get into our conversation. First of all, if you're following along on YouTube and you'll think, oh, Sally Ann's wearing a bandana or a headband today, I would like to say that I was just wearing it because it brought back memories of my own ballet classes, which I'm kind of given you a bit of a sneak into Felicia's background now. But no, I've just had some skin treatment done. So they're just a little bit fiery and red, the spots on my forehead at the moment. And I didn't want you to be concerned that I had fallen over or walked into something and injured myself. But no. So that's why that's there. And before we get going, I just want to give that background to Felicia. Felicia Terlecki is a former professional ballet dancer from New York, turned Pilates and dance teacher, now based in Bali. With over 20 years of Pilates experience and a passion for empowering women 40 plus, she founded Pilates Powerhouse Party, an online community and membership that blends Pilates, dance, and lifestyle medicine to help women in midlife feel strong, confident, and alive again. She also creates accessible programs like Dance Groove series, the Sexy Back Power video, and the Menopause Power Guide, giving women practical tools to reclaim their energy and joy at every stage of life. So once again, a warm welcome, Felicia.
Woo, thank you so much. And now we just have to give you a tutu, ballet slippers, and you're going to go on stage, right?
I know. I still
being alive again at this age.
Look, I often walk past a ballet studio in Darlinghurst, where I stay from time to time, and I think, oh, I've still got my point shoes. Whether I'd fit into them or not, I don't know. But I did give away my last tutu probably about 20 years ago, I think. I definitely would not fit into that now, that's for sure.
I have point shoes on my wall that I keep up on my wall as decoration. And I also have a tutu on my wall as decoration. And I also have one in my closet that I get out when I'm feeling kind of blue. It's like my background. If I'm feeling blue, I'm like, oh, I need to get myself up. I'll put it on and I'll just walk around in it because it makes me feel good.
Yeah, they're pretty amazing, that's for sure. Tell us, how did your early career as a professional ballet dancer in New York lead you to be a Pilates and dance teacher based in Bali? How did that all come about?
Well, my dancing all started at age 5, and I just knew that I loved it right off the bat. I used to watch my mom going to dance class, ballet class, her and her friends, and I just sat there in amazement. You would think 5 years old, I'd be running around. No. I just sat there and I watched. And I knew that I wanted to do that as a profession from age 5. A week after I graduated from high school, I was dancing with New York Theater Ballet and traveling around the world. And my childhood dream came to fruition. And that is something that I can't express in words. I wish everybody on this planet could take that childhood dream that they've always wanted to do and bring it to fruition, because there's a feeling like no other, right?
Yes, I'm getting tingles all over my body as you say that. So I hope other people listening to you are picking up on that energy as well, because I can hear it was something that you were really passionate about and something that you've really kept with you throughout your adult life, which is wonderful.
Yes, I definitely did. Although after I stopped dancing professionally, I went into corporate America. I was working with Colgate Palmolive for almost 20 years. Brusha, Colgate, right? And I loved it as well. I always embrace whatever I'm doing at the time. And I look back at my Colgate years and I learned so much about business and all those things that I learned from dance, the dedication and just being there and showing up every single day and doing things repetitively from my dancing career. It all applied to corporate America and anything that you do in life. So I truly love all the principles from dance because it really helped me form the rest of my life. So from there, I was with Colgate Palmolive for almost 20 years. They retired me at a very young age because I'm not that old yet.
No.
I'm still a young, chickadee here. So, and then after that, I decided to, first of all, along the way, I got my Pilates certification in 2003, and I was doing that all alongside when I was working in corporate. I was also going to school at NYU because I didn't go to school regular time. I graduated high school and went right into dancing, right? So, but anyway, I did the Pilates all the way through and also dance, of course. But I opened a small dance studio in New York. After that, I also started a company for personal development and success mentoring. And then I realized I just kind of wanted to do that, traveled around the world while doing it and found Bali. And I loved it. You just kept on coming back. I would leave, I would come for like a week or two, then I'd end up staying months. And then I'd come for a couple months, and then I'd end up staying 6 months. And then I just decided to stick with it. And then COVID happened, and I wanted to get rid of my personal development business. I took a well-needed break because I did burn myself out a little bit. I've done a lot in my life. And but now I'm only doing what I love, and that's Pilates and dance. And I want to incorporate everything that I've done in life. And that's why I have come up with all of these online programs. You mentioned them in the beginning. My personal favorite is all of them. But Pilates Powerhouse Party is the big one, and that's for women 40 plus
Yeah.
going through menopausal years and just making them feel alive and sexy again. So I hope that answers your question.
It does. And what I loved about meeting you and following you on Instagram is that I could see that the passion that you brought to Pilates and dance was the same as what I am bringing to nutrition and mindful eating and self care. And again, incorporating everything that I've learned in my over 30-year career in nutrition and health into our foundation's mindful eating program. So, Felicia, working with women in that age group, 40 plus, what do
Mhm.
you see and hear as their regular concerns with their health and happiness and, of course, their bodies? Because it is another time of transition for women. So, what comes up in your community and the classes that you run?
I feel like women feel a little bit depleted at this time of their life. Especially society has told us that we are, right? We've kind of all of our young, vibrant years are now dwindling away. And so I think psychologically, because society has told us that, we automatically feel that way. By the way, I don't feel that way. I feel like I want to switch the script and be like, this is our celebratory time. That's why Pilates Powerhouse Party, get it? So, and I truly believe that because I feel like I'm so empowered at this time. I want to bring that back to everybody else and feel the same way.
Mm.
But a lot of like common things that everybody says, I wrote them down just in case, right? So weight gain, especially belly fat, our hormones are all over the place because our body doesn't know what to do at this time. We're losing estrogen, progesterone, you name it. And literally our hormones are all over. So the belly, it really affects our belly. It affects our energy levels. So there's a ton of fatigue.
Mm.
Remember, Almost, because by the way, I'm 51 and now I told you my age. So I'm in full menopause. And so I haven't had my period for over a year. That's what full menopause is.
Yeah.
And perimenopause is when everything's like fluctuating with
Mm.
your hormones. Still happens after, but that's the crazy part.
Yeah.
And literally, oh my gosh, I remember I was dragging all the time. I didn't understand because I've always been this really energetic person, but for a good like almost 10 years, I know, long time, I felt like I was dragging. So it's a big one.
Yeah.
Confidence loss. Let's think of that. Like I just said I had all this energy for so long, and then all of a sudden, like, oh, I'm just dragging. Your confidence just goes whoop right down the tubes. So these poor women, we don't know what's going on with our bodies because also doctors aren't really educated. That's a whole nother podcast that we could probably do. And women at this age they're misdiagnosed and they don't realize that it's just menopause and that's a natural thing, right? And that's just a natural thing with women. So yeah, as I said, brain fog to mood swings going all over the place. So yeah, there's a lot of different symptoms and the things that I'm doing are helping combat that. And we could get into that a little bit more.
Yeah, we will. But I think just listing those symptoms, they are very common for women going through perimenopause. And we're going to talk about this as well, the fact that women live very busy lives and can be quite stressed without realizing it. That doesn't help. But I certainly remember just waking up one morning thinking, I don't know whose body I'm in. It's like, whose body is this?
Alien came and abducted you.
Yes, what happened to my body? Someone's pinched it. And I remember waking up some mornings very angry and thinking, well, looking at my husband next to me in bed, thinking, well, he hasn't done anything to make me angry. You know what I mean? Why should I feel angry at him? And I suppose for me, the interesting thing was that I could apply the mindfulness that I had been sort of cultivating over the past decade. And unfortunately, for some women, they haven't had that opportunity or that insight into actually starting to take care of themselves before they hit menopause. And many are still not in that mindset in menopause. So it's a really interesting time as well because there can be children still, or there can be grandchildren, there can be aging parents, there can be high pressured, careers for women. So it's a really interesting time, and I don't think it is supposed to be as traumatic as it becomes. But the last thing I want to say is that in terms of what you shared was I think it is really important that you refrain from wanting diagnoses of anything between the age of say 40 to probably once you've gone through menopause, because the hormones are just all over the place. And because of that, the physical and emotional states that we're going through, they're transitionary. They're not actually going to last. And I think that's what I want to say is that menopause is a transition, or perimenopause is the transition into that next stage of life. It doesn't last forever. And it can be a really interesting ride if you're open to being curious about, oh, what's going on today? But we'll talk more about that, I think, Felicia, in terms of the misconceptions. We've probably touched on some of them at the moment, but what do you hear comes up the most in terms of, you've talked about, yeah, life is over because we're gone through menopause, but what are the other things that you hear?
So I think I want to clear up because of the conversation that we've actually gone through. What is perimenopause, menopause, and postmenopause?
Yes, please do. Yep.
Perimenopause literally can start at age 35, your late 30s. Most women don't realize that they're even going through it. And they say, menopause, I'm not going through menopause. You must be crazy.
Yeah.
And there's a huge misconception that perimenopause is menopause. And
Mm.
perimenopause, you can still have children. A lot of women don't realize that they can still have children and be going through perimenopause.
Mm.
Uh, just your eggs are dissipating and getting smaller. So it's going to probably start to be harder, although you don't really know because your hormones are all over the place. Sometimes you will have a period that's like 3, 4 weeks long. I actually had it for 4 months right before I ended and went into menopause, which I'll get to.
Yeah.
But like usually your periods start to get closer and closer together.
Mm,
So you don't really know where your cycle's at.
no.
So you don't know where you're going to be able to get pregnant
Mm,
either, right? Because your period's out of sync and you don't know where it is.
yeah.
So, but you are still able to have kids. Not until your very last period that's your last egg that leaves your body. After the last egg leaves your body, usually it's a year without your period. Then you can say, "Oh my gosh, I'm in menopause now."
I know
And
it's,
menopause,
yeah, something I've just got to say because I met up with a friend and we were having this "Are you in menopause?" conversation, and she said, I was a day off 12 months and I got my period
oh my
again.
gosh.
And she said, I thought I was through and then got it. And it was just because you were saying about the 12 months. And I'm thinking, yeah.
So I guess the average is 12 months.
Exactly. Exactly.
Clinically, I guess the clinical definition
It is.
is
Yeah.
one,
Yeah.
but it's really only one day menopause. That's one day, that's 365 days that have gone by. Then you can say, oh my gosh, I am in menopause.
Yeah.
Then the next day you're in post menopause. So I don't think a lot of people really understand that, and there's a misconception around that.
Yeah, and I think too, we get a bit lazy talking about menopause. And I must say, yeah, I don't really talk about post-menopause. I just don't really talk about it at all. But yeah, I can see the confusion because a lot of people say, I'm going through menopause, but they're really talking about perimenopause. And
Mhm.
you're quite right. Menopause is achieved when you haven't had your period for 12 months. And then
Yeah.
after that, it's not menopause anymore, it's this new stage of life. So, and I think the other thing that probably confuses it, and I certainly have these conversations with my clients, is that they can still get some of those what we call perimenopause or well, they are perimenopause symptoms, of the hot flushes and maybe broken sleep at night, some mood swings,
I didn't even get into those.
some
The
fluid
list goes
retention.
on and on.
Yeah. So I think that's where it becomes a little bit confusing for women because they're looking at the actual symptoms that they're experiencing, thinking, oh, I thought I was post-menopause, but I'm still getting these symptoms. But if you're listening and just embarking on perimenopause or not there, please don't fear. It doesn't last forever. It really doesn't. And what Felicia and I are going to talk about in this episode will give you hope because there are things you can do to make that transition more smooth. And you will always hear stories where women have had a really hard time, and that can happen, whereas others, it just happens without much interference in their life at all. So we're all different, and keep that in mind. You don't necessarily, or you won't necessarily have those really severe symptoms.
And you don't have to take medication. There's things that you can do. You could probably talk to through food, that could help regulate your hormones a little bit better. But working out and also mindful practices, breath work or meditation, calming down the nervous system really helps. So just, try to create that awareness and openness to learn versus go, oh, I'm not menopausal or I'm not ready for that or whatever it might be for you because we're all different.
Yes.
But just have an open mind is
Yeah.
what
Yeah, and I think so too, because sometimes our symptoms are not the classic ones. When I first started realizing perimenopause had started for me, I actually started to experience low blood pressure in the fact of, oh, I feel like I'm going to fall over. And that all makes sense if you look at what happens to our blood vessels when we have a hot flush. There's a dilation of the blood vessels, so our blood pressure can drop. So there's all sorts of things that can happen. And I suppose what I encourage every woman to do, regardless of your age, is to really become more mindful of how you feel in your body and what your energy level's like and what your tolerance is for things going awry in our day. You know, nothing ever goes to plan, but some days we kind of get more stressed about that than others. Others we can just sort of say, oh, well, that happened, plan B, and off we go. Or sometimes it could be plan Z, but we're still happy about it and we get on with it. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think mindfulness for me was the savior because I could say, oh, this is new. This is not what I'm used to be like or how I used to feel. And I could just then adjust what I was doing. But you're quite right. Food does play an important role. And we know that there's some aggravators to our hormonal transition. And many of us have heard these before, but, you know, certainly alcohol. I found salt was a problem with water retention. Also, coffee, caffeine can, you know, contribute to hot flushes, also interfere with sleep. So different aggravators there. Sugar can be a big problem if you have too much sugar as well. It's just hard for the body to regulate everything when the hormones are all over the place. And getting back to, dare I say it, those whole foods, but really actually stopping and enjoying food as well, because eating on the run can be stressful for the body as well. So no matter what you eat, even if it's not the most perfect whole food meal, whatever you're eating, stop and enjoy it. That in itself will actually help de-stress you and help bring those cortisol levels down, which also can play havoc at this time of life as well.
Definitely. And I think I don't want to jump ahead at all, but at the same time, I feel like we don't even realize that sometimes we have the symptoms because we're so rushed.
Exactly.
Rushed
Exactly.
all the time, especially in the Western world. Now that I'm in Bali, I have definitely regulated to a different way of life. It's not as much push, push, push.
Yes.
But Western life is so push, 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 like not leaving a second
Yeah.
for just having some self-reflection, relaxation to regulate your nervous system. I don't think a lot of people even realize it because it's automatic, right? They don't even realize that they need it.
No.
So it's something to really be mindful of because that is going to help you in your
Mm.
menopausal or especially your premenopausal or perimenopausal years. The regulation of the nervous system will also take away that roller coaster that you're going to go on.
That's right. And something, you know, you and I have spoken about before, Felicia, is that often people don't realize that they're stressed. And stress is just that background software program that's running all the time because we don't stop and take notice. And I know for a while when I was working in a health retreat, so many of our guests would say, even at the end of 5 days or 7 days, oh, I actually know what it feels like to feel well. I don't have the anxiety, I don't have the headaches, I don't have the worries. I just feel a different sense of calm, is what they were really talking about. And feeling in control. And I think those feelings of overwhelm, people don't realize that's a symptom of stress. You know, we're not meant to feel overwhelmed. We're not meant to feel like we'll never get everything done in our day or our week or our month. That's not the way it's meant to be. And it's kind of just something we've adopted, as you said, in the Western world, that we have to do. Whereas if you look more at the Eastern side of the world and their traditional practices, it's about being, not doing. It's about being. And I love that you shared that, yes, taking time for that self reflection just to see where your mind and body's at. So you've got that benchmark for the day ahead is so important.
And they work in tandem
Oh, yeah.
in the body.
Yeah.
You need them both to be healthy. And sometimes I think people forget that they work in tandem and they'll think, okay, I'll meditate. But then they don't incorporate movement and training for their body, especially
Yeah.
through menopause, you need strength training. But like they don't intertwine them
No.
and they do work in tandem. So it's really important to have both healthy,
Yes.
not just one.
Yeah, I think that's a really important aspect to life in general, but especially when we're investing in our health and trying to find things that do both. And I know for myself, because I live in the Blue Mountains west of Sydney, walking in nature is both, well, it's for everything. It's just so important for my physical fitness, but also my emotional and mental health, as well as yoga. I find yoga is a core thing for me. But then I have friends turn on the music and off I go, which of course
I know
is.
how to do that too.
I know. I thought I'd throw that one in, Felicia, because dance is like that. And I can remember back to my years doing ballet, and I did do it for several years. I just loved it. I just went into my own zone and danced, and the music. I did classical ballet, a little bit of jazz, but mostly classical, and just loved it. It really did sort of cement my love of classical music for my entire life. But yeah, there's a sense of freedom, there's a sense of control, there's a sense of just being as well, which I think is so important.
And dance in general, just to throw a little fact out there, it's one of the top things that you could do to prevent Alzheimer's disease and dementia, that brain fog that you get during menopausal years. It really starts to trigger the neurons in the brain, and especially choreographed. I know people go, oh, gosh, I can't do choreography. But I can tell you, I've had so many people that I've taught over the years, and I'll teach a very easy but slightly choreographed class, which I also have online. And they walk out with an amazing smile on their face,
Yep.
ready and raring to go, take on their day or whatever they have the next few hours or whatever it is. But they are just so happy and relaxed. Whatever worry that they had before, it's totally gone. So it really helps with the nervous system, helps with the brain, so the body and the brain, working together. So yeah, so it's something to really think about. I don't think people even realize that that's a thing that it does. If you have dementia in your family, go out there and dance. Important.
It is. And I think it's, well, let's move on to that anyway. We're going to talk about it. I think now's a good time. The benefits of dance, because we've talked about obviously giving the brain something to do, something to love, something to remember, something to build our confidence. But what else does dance give us in terms of our health and well-being?
Well, I just gave one, the prevention of
Yes.
dementia, and the brain fog.
Mm.
Uh, Also, we were talking about the relaxation of the body. So then you regulate your nervous system, and then you're just happy.
That's right.
Your
It's the mood.
your mood is just so happy.
Yeah.
Your mood is better. So whenever I am feeling a little down, I put my tutu on, right?
You said that earlier.
I'll put on some music
Yeah.
and just dance.
Yeah.
And it's just, I think, a savior for people. And I don't think that they realize it because they might have a stigma around dance or something like that. But it really is, if you really allow it to take over your body, amazing. And it will give you those benefits. But the number one, I think, is the Alzheimer's thing. But I do have to say, just plain old happiness.
That's right.
And how do you want to live your life?
Yeah.
Like this is also a conscious decision.
Mm.
Like, how do you want to live your life? For me, I want to go through life happy. My name even means happiness. Felicia means happy,
Mm.
happiness. So I've that's always been a number one decision for me. Like I live life based off of my happiness. And if it brings happiness to me, I'm going to do it.
Yes.
So, and I think that goes with dance, especially for me. But for people, once you get them into it, everybody has smiles on their faces.
Well, I think too, as you were talking, it was that saying that is dance like nobody's watching you.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's the sort of space we want to get into. But I think for me, when I think about dancing as well, I mean, there's some potentially some cardiovascular fitness there as well. It's getting the heart
Oh,
pumping. And again, depending how often you do it and how you do it, you're going to be moving your muscles, which
oh,
we
totally.
need to really focus on, post menopause and even perimenopause, having celebrated Healthy Bones Action Week with Belinda Beck back in an earlier episode. Doing the right exercise is just so important. And I was thinking of her also when you were talking about some of the myths of midlife for women, is that she finds it with her clients and that around bone strength, thinking, oh, well, I'm old now, I'm supposed to be fragile. But no, we can be strong women at any age. And I think
Mm.
that's really important. You know, Belinda talks about that as well, that need to preserve our lean muscle mass, and also depending on what health state your health of your bones are in, whether you actually need to rebuild bone and do some strength lifting. So it's
Mm.
it's not the end of the world. It's a totally brand new world, I think, post menopause. And if we can be prepared for it, that's really important. And I think I also read recently too that being comfortable in our bodies and having a positive body image means
Mhm.
that we're open to our bodies changing. And again, it brings me back to a lovely story a friend shared with me. She overheard her friend telling her pre-pubescent daughter that the body she had today was just one of the bodies she was going to have in her lifetime. And every one of them was special and needs to be taken care of. And I think what the interesting thing is about menopause is that all of a sudden the rule book we had maybe for a decade or so.
Throw it out. Throw
It's
it out. You
Yep.
don't know anything. You don't know anything. Calories, you can't count calories anymore. You have to regulate your nervous system. That's more important than counting calories.
Yeah. And I would have said get rid of the calories. Never
Long time.
go to calories. Never go to calories. What I would have said.
Muscle mass, though. Yeah, muscle mass. If you build your muscle mass, then it's
Yeah.
better for what you were saying before. Muscle helps hold your bones in place. So as you get older, you need to have a lot of
Ah,
muscle mass. It also helps with bone density.
yeah. And
And
posture, standing taller. Linda talked about on, sorry,
that's
not,
where Pilates comes in.
yeah, as well. Posture, yeah, yoga,
It's,
Pilates, but
yeah, like
especially, yeah, and especially for women who are losing bone density, though, that they actually get taller. They don't actually grow taller, but it's all the postural changes that they do with the lifting as well. But you're quite right, Pilates, yoga, dance, dare I
yeah,
say, makes us
all of
stand
it.
up, sit up, and we feel better. And I sort of certainly know too from that brain fog and feeling more energetic. If we sit open and upright, we breathe better. So we're actually getting the maximum amount of oxygen that we can breathe in with each breath. And that's really important as well. So there's all these.
Yeah, if you're sitting hunched over at the computer all day, you're contracting your ribs.
That's right. You can't breathe.
Have to bring the shoulder blades in and down the back, open up that chest, and then you can have better breath
Yeah.
in and out.
Yeah.
So it's really important to pay attention to how
Yeah.
you're standing.
Yeah.
Just feeling tall is going to make your confidence level
That's
go
right.
all out the roof. But yeah, just going to the Pilates portion and menopause, also your joints start to hurt a lot. So one thing that I love about Pilates is that it's a light way and mindful within the body way to gain muscle mass. If you're not really pounding on your muscles and your joints. You're doing it in a way that is helping you building those small little tiny muscles inside the body and then working outward versus when you go to the gym, you work on the outside of the body and then work in towards the center. And I always say, because the outside muscles, they're called, oh gosh, it just went out of my head. This is called menopause. Superficial. That was an example, and I didn't even mean to. It just went out of my head in 2 seconds. But the outside of your body, the muscles are called superficial. And then the inside is deeper. And so I always make a joke. You could be superficial, you could be deep. So the Pilates goes deep into those little tiny muscles that you don't even know that you have, and that really build up. So, around the bone. So then later on in life, you're not going to have as much problems.
And I think the issue with bone density, and I didn't really think about it until I did that episode with Belinda, was that we don't think about our bones because we don't really see them. I've collarbones. You can see my collarbones, but we don't really think about our skeleton so much, and it's hidden away inside. But certainly in Australia, it's recommended that you have a bone scan, especially for women around 50 and possibly earlier, if you've got a history of fractures, whether you've had an eating disorder, because again, that means your body's been subjected to low hormone levels earlier in life, and also long-term use of some steroid medications. So again, if you're listening thinking, oh, my bones is not something that I've thought about, then think about it, because you need that foundation. They really are the foundation that moves us around. And again, to feel confident that you're not going to break something if you fall over. Not that I want anyone to fall over. So that's really important. So tell us, Felicia, about your programs. I'm sure our listeners are ready for that.
Okay. Well, I big one is Pilates Powerhouse Party that I kind of gave a little bit of information about before. I have over 100 plus videos on there and a bunch of really healthy, good recipes for you. As we were going through our interview today or podcast, I talked about mindful practices. So I have them in there because they're so important to regulate your body and your nervous system. So you have your health through Pilates, gaining all of that muscle mass in a good, healthy way and not really pounding on the body. It's a mindful way of doing it. You have the, as I said, the recipes to help you, and then the mindful practices. And then most important, which we didn't really talk about, is the community. It's so important to have community at this age. So you can talk about all of your problems that you didn't even know that you were going to have. So you know that you're not crazy,
That's right.
and that it's other people that are going to be there and you can talk to and be able to have conversations with. And it's important because what did it we say before? Society has kind of pushed us in a different direction. So now here's a forum where you can really just come out and talk about it. And then also celebrate each other's wins. I believe in women when they're feeling strong within their bodies and they're going to feel strong out in life. And that confidence just comes right with it. And when you're confident about yourself, you just are lifting each other up.
Yeah, definitely. And I just want to touch on that sense of community and that conversation. And it occurs in a few different ways in the Eating for You community. We have our free Facebook group, but we also have our paid programs. And so many ladies have said, I just don't feel alone anymore.
Yep.
And to hear that others can do it and they've come from where I'm at is
Mhm.
just so inspiring. And the celebration of wins is so important as a group, but also individually, because that's what motivates us. We get rid of, and I know you do this as well with your approach, you get rid of that everything has to be perfect. It's about working on one thing, getting
Mhm.
some success, enjoying what you're doing, and that will motivate you to keep going. It's not these ridiculous, and you still see them online, these ridiculous overhaul makeovers that just they're senseless. They just don't make any sense at all. I mean, they always seem so good, but if anything is too good to be true, it probably is. And that's what we know from my background with dieting. This all or nothing approach just does not work. It's not sustainable.
And you don't get transformation overnight.
No.
It's over time. And so you have to be consistent. And that's another thing that the community does. It helps you keep your consistency
Yeah.
of staying on top of it. So then you're doing these healthy practices over and over and over again. Goes all the way back to my ballet days, which we talked about in the beginning.
Yeah.
That consistency of doing things over and over and over helped me through my whole life. And it goes right down to this program,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
It's so important to know that you can't just do something for a couple of seconds because technology, you think everything's going to be at your fingertips nowadays.
Yeah.
And it's just not. It's just not. You have to put the effort in. You have to do the work, and then you'll get the results.
Yeah. And I think
Celebrate with a little dance after.
that's exactly right. And I think the work that we're talking about is not climbing Mount Everest. It's about taking that first step. And I just threw that in there because I know some women would have thought, oh, I haven't got time to do the work as soon as they hear that word. But again, work is, how can I say, a misused word and abused word, I think.
As
So
long as you have progress, isn't that a good word? Progress. As
yeah,
long as you see the progress, it doesn't mean that you have to go for the end goal, but
no,
just
that's right.
progress.
I know. And I think this is the thing though that I know in your community and in mine, it takes a while to break down that mindset though. For me, it's all about the dieting software that's running in someone's brain. It's all about the magic number on the scales that they're trying to achieve. When you enter into this sort of self-care, mindfulness, non-diet approach in the Eating For You community, it's not about a number on the scales. It's about taking off little steps to, as you said it before, transform your habits and transform your life one little step at a time. So we still set targets, but they're not the same targets. And it's certainly for me, it's not a calorie number and it's certainly not a number on the scales. It's more about little eating challenges that women have and being able to change them one by one. And that builds confidence. And you just feel so good when you have a win. And as you said, if you can celebrate it in a community, it's amplified.
Mhm. Oh, totally. It means so much. The community is everything, I believe.
Yeah. Oh, and it's finding the right tribe. That's kind of been a bit of a catchphrase on social media the past years, but it's true. It's finding a community that you feel comfortable in and you can grow in, and you can also share when things didn't go to plan and get help to avoid that happening again, which is so important. Felicia, you have your Pilates Powerhouse party, but you also have some other things, don't you, as well, that you offer some smaller
I
programs?
do. I have two others. One is a 20-minute sexy back power video.
Yep.
It's all about posture and confidence. And earlier we were talking about slouching over, and this actually brings your shoulder blades in and down the back and opens up your chest. And that is 20 minutes. And it's a very good way to see if you like my teaching or not, too, right? So you see my personality, just
A
like
sneak,
here.
a sneak peek.
So yeah, so if you wanted that. And then the other one is dance grooves, and that's just 5 routines, all choreographed.
Wow.
So very simple for the everyday person. There's also a warm up and a cool down.
Yes.
And we get a little funky and have some fun in it, and many different types of music. And yeah, I have very good feedback on that. People are just very happy with it. So
Yes, and that's certainly sounds perfect for dancing like nobody's watching by the sounds of it to me.
yeah, it's in your living room. You don't have to have anybody else watching you. It's for you. It's not for anybody else unless you want it to be.
You could have a dance party. There you go.
Yes. And then I have, of course, for everybody here on the podcast today, I have a menopause free guide for you because we're celebrating Menopause Awareness Day.
That's lovely. And I'll make sure, Felicia, the links to your menopause power guide and also the information that you've provided about the programs as well. And that just gets shared with the episode's notes. And I'll also pop we haven't even talked about this yet, your Instagram.
Oh,
Is
yeah.
amazing because you're always sharing fun things on there as well. So I'll make sure that's shared as well with the other links. So, is there anything you would like to share before we finish up?
I just want everybody to enjoy life, be happy, embrace whatever stage you're at. This is for menopause, so hopefully you're probably 40 plus or around that. But even if you're not, and maybe you're younger, just embrace every step of the way because we're only on this journey once. Let's make the best out of it because life is fun. I feel like life is for the taking and let's do it.
Yes, and I think it's really important to get those tools and support to be able to do it. And as I said, all of the links to Felicia's resources will be provided. And I'm also offering a couple of things as well because we are celebrating menopause. So I've got a free guide, The 5 Steps to a New Way of Eating, which really explains what the Eating for You approach is, how mindful eating and mindfulness can change your relationship with food and yourself. So that's a lovely guide that it's available. So Felicia, thanks again for joining us. It's been a hoot. It really is. It's not a word that I use very often, but it's the word that came to mind. It's been a hoot and a lovely way to celebrate life after menopause. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
If you've been listening today and you've enjoyed this episode, please let us know and share it on your social media pages. And I look forward to sharing with you again next week. You have been listening to the Eating for You podcast with Sally Ann Pisk. If a long-term way of healthier eating is of interest to you, then make sure you subscribe to our podcast.